Good morning and welcome to Mission Control Houston. This is the International Space Station Flight Control Room, where a team of specialists is keeping a close eye on all of the station's systems while working with the Expedition 60 crew, which doubled in size to 6 crew members last weekend. Commander Alexei Ovchinin and his American, Russian, and Italian crewmates are wrapping up their first week in space altogether and getting ready for the imminent arrival of a new shipment of supplies on the 18th Dragon cargo ship.
Welcome to Space to Ground. I am Catherine Clayton. The launch and capture of SpaceX's 18th cargo resupply mission will bring more science, research, and a new gateway to the International Space Station. SpaceX 18 launched from Cape Canaveral on Thursday. Astronauts Christina Cook and Nick Hague are set to operate the robotic arm to capture the Dragon this weekend. Dragon is holding more than 5,000 pounds of cargo inside, including supplies, critical spares, hardware to support rodent research, as well as dozens of biology, physics, and materials science investigations. Dragon is set to remain at the station for about a month before re-entering the Earth's atmosphere and splashing down in the Pacific Ocean with 3,300 pounds of return cargo. One of the primary payloads on the SpaceX 18 is the International Docking Adapter 3, or IDA-3. IDA-3 represents a gateway to the future for exploration. Allowing America's first new human-rated spacecraft since the shuttle, it will be the 8th port for a visiting vehicle and will allow 2 commercial crew vehicles to dock to the station at the same time. IDA-3 is more sophisticated than previous docking systems and uses lasers and sensors to connect the station to spacecrafts, creating an automatic alignment and connection, almost like a car that can park itself. The new docking port will be installed through a mix of ground-controlled robotic operations and a spacewalk currently scheduled for next month. The dozens of investigations soon to be delivered to the space station provide opportunities for other government agencies, private industry, and academic and research institutions to conduct microgravity research. Highlights include the BioRock investigation, which will examine the interaction between microbes and rocks in microgravity, as well as physical and genetic changes in the microbes. This information could eventually help explorers on the Moon or Mars. The biofabrication facility will provide a platform to print biological tissues. This could be an important step to 3D printing usable human organs. Goodyear Tire will investigate silica rolls in space to gain a better understanding of its structures and properties to improve tire manufacturing and performance. All of the investigations on SpaceX 18 represent significant discoveries to further NASA's goal of Moon and Mars exploration. Be sure to tune into NASA TV for updates and coverage of what's happening on the space station, and send us your questions using the hashtag AskNASA. We'll see you next week.
The Dragon cargo ship launched Thursday afternoon and is due at the International Space Station Saturday morning. NASA TV and NASA.gov begin live coverage at 7:30 a.m. Central Time for rendezvous and capture, and again at 11 a.m. for installation of Dragon to the Harmony module. The Soyuz spacecraft that docked to the station last weekend delivered cosmonaut Alexander Skvortsov for his 3rd long-duration mission, European Space Agency astronaut Luca Parmitano of Italy for his 2nd, and NASA's Drew Morgan. Although Morgan's first launch ever happened on the 50th anniversary of the first landing of human beings on the Moon, he is no stranger to making giant leaps.
I think I often describe myself as a soldier, a physician, and an astronaut. The pursuit of those happened in that order. One of the earliest memories I have is of always wanting to be in the military, of wanting to be a soldier. Quite a history of military service in our family. Both my grandparents, my father was an Air Force officer, and I also remember my parents telling me a story about my great-uncle Clink, Harry McClintock, who was a paratrooper in World War II. He was in the 101st Airborne Division and jumped at Normandy on D-Day, and then jumped in Operation Market Garden in Holland. And that was the first time I had ever heard of the concept of a paratrooper or what it meant to be an airborne soldier. So when I later decided, I graduated from high school and I went to West Point, I knew that I was very interested in this concept of being an airborne soldier. At West Point, they had a parachute team called the Black Knights. Yeah, so I made the parachute team, and that became one of the central activities of my remaining 3.5 years at West Point. In addition to academics, after class, we jumped most days of the week, but then we were also a demonstration team, so we jumped in football games. Also, while I was a cadet, I went through military basic airborne course, which taught military static line parachuting. Specifically, the parachute aspect of it, if I go back to the time when I was a cadet, my teammates that I was selected with became my best friends in the world and continue to be to this day. And that camaraderie that we had and that dependency we had on each other, making sure that we were skilled in the aircraft, skilled in the air, our lives depended on each other to do safety checks of each other. That type of camaraderie is something that I feel now in the astronaut corps with my astronaut colleagues as well. I think about how 20 years ago I was developing those skills at an early age and didn't even know it. I'm Andrew Morgan, and I'm a soldier, a physician, and an astronaut.
International Space Station training does not require that astronauts jump out of perfectly good airplanes. But the course of preparation for a 6-month tour of duty does last more than 2 years and has its own tough elements. Modern technology allows astronauts to train more safely than in the past as they prepare for the missions of today and those of the future.
Mission training for astronauts has always been rigorous. Testing our astronauts' limits, abilities, and knowledge is still an integral part of readying them for the tasks they'll carry out in space. In the Apollo era, there were so many more unknowns. Those pioneers used the best of what was available to them at that time and invented the rest. Safety was and is a top concern, but we push boundaries at NASA at great risk. Throughout NASA's history, technology has fueled the evolution of our training programs. Virtual reality allows our astronauts the benefit of safely repeating mission-specific events and activities, although some things we do don't look that different from back then. Astronauts have to be prepared for their journeys. It's the nature of all of those who explore.
Now, International Space Station crew members get focused training on how to operate station systems, such as the Microgravity Sciences glove box, an enclosed space that's for experiments that involve potentially hazardous materials. In this Speedy Time segment, astronaut Peggy Whitson pulls the rack out of the wall of the Destiny Laboratory to show us how the MSG works.
We wanted to talk to you about Microgravity Sciences glove box. We do all kinds of experiments in here. I've grown tissue culture cells. I've looked at how air and fluid separate. I've grown superconductor crystals in here, and they got up to over 700 degrees Fahrenheit. So this environment was to protect us from what was happening inside the experiment. Now I'm growing cells, and they have to be grown in a sterile environment. So now I'm protecting the cells from me by having them inside this environment. So it's very flexible, and we can change out all the experiments by opening up this big door on the front. Then once we've got the experiment set up inside, you can access from the sides, or we have this little airlock down here that if you wanted to, you could access from here as well. It's kind of like a transformer. At the end of the day, when you're done working with it, you just push it back into the rack. There we go, and it fits right in very nicely within the rack volume. The other thing that goes along with this, or is attached to this, is a microscope. We have a fantastic microscope with capability to send the videos and pictures down to the ground. The ground's been looking at the structures that are forming differently here in zero gravity. That's why they're doing the research here, is to see what new they can discover. So very cool science, very cool piece of hardware. Microgravity Sciences glove box.
Now, part of the science mission of the International Space Station is to take advantage of the weightless environment in low Earth orbit to do research on new technologies that can benefit future exploration or life on Earth, or maybe both. For example, the station is now home to the Refabricator. It's a 3D printer that can make things and then recycle those things and 3D print new things using the same plastic.
The In-Space Refabricator. Presented by Science at NASA. While 3D printers are technology that many people are familiar with, there's one 250 miles above us on the International Space Station, or ISS, that's unlike anything currently found on Earth. It's known as the Refabricator, a hybrid 3D printer that can recycle its hard polymer plastic numerous times to make new items. About the size of a dorm room refrigerator, the device is controlled by operators on Earth who oversee its manufacturing via video cameras. Nikki Werkheiser, NASA's N-Space Manufacturing Manager at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, says, recyclers on Earth grind plastic pellets to create their products. But that grinding creates material shear, which prevents you from reusing that plastic again. It's no longer strong enough. For this technology demonstration, the company, Tethers Unlimited, developed a novel recycling process that doesn't require grinding, and that allows us to recycle the plastic multiple times. The ability to reuse the plastic over and over again is essential for long-term space exploration. Werkheiser says, we can replace a lot of the things we need when we're orbiting above Earth. We just have them delivered on a resupply mission. But when you're in deep space, you don't have that option. You have to have the ability to make all the parts you might need and without having a large stockpile of extra materials. The Refabricator can even recycle plastic items not normally associated with Earthbound 3D printers. For instance, almost all of the materials that are delivered to the station are packed using foam or plastic bags. Both can be loaded into the Refabricator to deliver items such as a plastic syringe, an eating utensil, or a custom-made wrench. That ability limits the amount of backup materials you need to take with you on a long-range expedition. After all, in space, space is at a premium. The Refabricator's technology demonstration will be composed of 2 phases. During each phase, the Refabricator will perform 7 cycles of recycling and printing parts while on board the ISS. All of the items printed by the Refabricator will eventually be sent back to Earth for testing and analysis to determine the effects of repeated recycling on the material properties of the plastic. Werkheiser notes, I'm very excited about this technology both in space and back on Earth. I can envision a day where you go to the grocery store and drop your water bottles and plastic bags into a Refabricator, and then select your new phone case or a kitchen gadget or the raw filament that you can use in your 3D printer at home. For more science from the International Space Station, go to www.nasa.gov/ISS-science. For more information about how the promise of future exploration is transforming today's technology, visit science.nasa.gov.
The range of science research being done on the International Space Station today is remarkable, and the station program's science office is hoping you can help expand that range. If you've got a hypothesis to test that requires eliminating gravity as a variable, or a project in mind that needs a clear view of the Earth from 250 miles straight up, have we got a research platform for you?
Hi, I'm NASA astronaut Megan MacArthur. Did you know there's a research laboratory in space? It's the International Space Station, and it's a scientific stepping stone that's enabling us to explore farther into space while improving life on Earth. The space station provides a unique environment of microgravity, extreme conditions, and an observation platform that enables researchers from all over the world to test theories and technologies off the Earth in an extreme environment unlike any other. We welcome you to join us on station. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or part of NASA to gain access to this unique laboratory. Don't know much about spaceflight? That's okay. We're here to help people just like you every day. You might be curious about funding, capabilities, access, or maybe you just don't know where to start. Give us a call or email. We'll ask you some basic questions about your objectives, which will help us point you to the right people who could make your experiment or testing your technology possible in space. Visit nasa.gov/station opportunities for more detailed ideas, answers, and contact information, or find us at the Station Research Client Helpline. So welcome to the International Space Station. You'll soon be part of a worldwide group of researchers making discoveries on this amazing orbiting vehicle, all for the benefit of our planet and future exploration beyond.
The astronauts on the International Space Station devote some of their time to helping students with their science, technology, engineering, and math studies. In this demonstration video, astronaut Ricky Arnold demonstrates how the molecules that make up water behave when they're in space.
Welcome to the International Space Station. I'm NASA astronaut Ricky Arnold. Our view from the ISS of Earth is absolutely magnificent, but we quickly realized we really should call it Planet Ocean. We are mostly a water planet. Water occurs here in all three phases, solid, liquid, and gas. And the presence of water on other planets and moons within our own solar system has us wondering, is there life there too? Well, why is water so special? One reason is called surface tension. So what is surface tension? Let's have a look. Surface tension is a property of liquids in which molecules of one substance are more attracted to each other than to molecules of another substance. Water is unique in that it has a high surface tension compared to other liquids. This is due to its polar property. The positive hydrogen ends and the negative oxygen ends create a strong bond. As they say, opposites attract. So the hydrogen end of the water tends to stick to the oxygen end in a nearby water molecule. At water's surface, its molecules are only attracted to the water molecules below and to the sides of them, as there is only air above these molecules. So the surface molecules of a body of water are pulled down, creating a more stable, stronger environment. That is why certain animals, like the water strider, can actually walk on the surface of water. Here on the International Space Station, the microgravity environment makes it easy to show how well water uses surface tension to stick together. We even rely on surface tension to help us wash our hair, those of us that have a lot. Thanks for coming along today and learning a little bit about surface tension. Want to learn more about the unique properties of water and do your own experiments? Try out the activity related to this video at the STEMonstrations website. See you next time.
The three newest members of the Expedition 60 crew launched to the station on the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing. That was the mission that made good on President John Kennedy's challenge to land men on the moon and return them safely to Earth before the 1960s were out. The realization of that challenge had a profound effect. For much of a generation of Americans, they were inspired to a lifetime of exploration that continues right up to today and tomorrow.
Of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not. And it is one of the great adventures of all time.
And no nation which expects to be the leader of other nations can expect to stay behind. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal?
Why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Expedition 12 Commander Bill MacArthur with a greeting for his Expedition 11 counterpart.
because of your work, because of the ingenuity, dedication, and entrepreneurial spirit reflected in this room and throughout the American space enterprise. Since the end of Apollo 11, we've forged incredible breakthroughs in our technology that have allowed us to go further, more safely in space than ever before. And let me be clear. The first woman and the next man on the moon will both be American astronauts.
Now, returning to the moon by 2024 is a step in the path of future exploration. Putting boots on Mars is the goal, too. And everything in NASA's 60 years of space exploration history is coming together to help make that dream a reality.
So you want to go to Mars? How does NASA's history prepare us for future exploration? NASA has been exploring space for 60 years. In that time, we've learned a lot that will help us with future missions. First, NASA learned how to build and launch rockets into space. Then NASA learned how to send astronauts, who performed spacewalks, rendezvous and docking maneuvers, and tested new technologies to prepare us to go to the moon. During the Apollo missions, humankind explored the lunar surface and proved that we can walk on other worlds. After the Apollo program ended, NASA returned to low Earth orbit, but with longer, more complex missions. Skylab, America's first space station, taught us important lessons about living in space. The Space Shuttle kicked off a series of regular missions, advancing astronaut training, launch capabilities, and on-orbit operations. The Space Shuttle enabled us to build the International Space Station, expanding our ability to use space for scientific research and teaching us how to make a permanent home away from Earth. Astronauts still live there today. Building on 60 years of knowledge and discovery prepares us to go farther than humanity has ever gone before. To find out more, go to this NASA website.
There have been 60 expeditions on the International Space Station since the year 2000. There are more to come. All of them have worked to achieve scientific goals while getting humankind ready for the next step in space exploration, which is moving out beyond low Earth orbit to return to the moon by 2024 and then out into the solar system to Mars. NASA is building the systems right now that will take us to our next destination.
50 years ago, we pioneered a path to the moon. The trail we blazed cut through the fictions of science and showed us all what was possible.
It's very pretty out here.
Today, our calling to explore is even greater. To go farther, we must be able to sustain missions of greater distance and duration. We must use the resources we find at our destinations. We must overcome radiation, isolation, gravity, and extreme environments like never before. These are the challenges we face to push the bounds of humanity. We're going to the moon to stay by 2024, and this is how.
This all starts with the ability to get larger, heavier payloads off planet and beyond Earth's gravity.
For this, we designed an entirely new rocket.
The Space Launch System. SLS will be the most powerful rocket ever developed.
And with components in production
and more in testing,
this system is capable of being the catalyst for deep space missions.
We need a capsule
that can support humans from launch
through deep space and return safely back to Earth.
For this, we've built Orion.
This is NASA's next-generation human space capsule.
Using data from lunar orbiters that continue to reveal the moon's hazards and resources.
We're currently developing an entirely new approach to landing and operating on the moon.
Using our commercial partners to deliver science instruments and robotics to the surface, we are paving the way for human missions in 2024.
Our charge is to go quickly and to stay, to press our collective efforts forward with a fervor that will see us return to the moon in a manner that is wholly different than 50 years ago.
We want lunar landers that are reusable.
That can land anywhere on the lunar surface.
The simplest way to do so is to give them a platform in orbit around the moon from which to transition.
An orbiting platform to host deep space experiments and be a waypoint for human capsules. We call this lunar outpost Gateway.
The beauty of the Gateway is that it can be moved between orbits.
It will balance between the Earth and Moon's gravity,
in a position that is ideal for launching even deeper space missions.
In 2009, we learned that the moon contains millions of tons of water ice.
This ice can be extracted and purified for water. It can be separated in oxygen for breathing or hydrogen for rocket fuel.
The moon is quite uniquely suited
to prepare us and propel us to Mars and beyond.
This is what we are building.
This is what we're training for.
This we can replicate throughout the solar system.
This is the next chapter of human space exploration.
Humans are the most fragile element of this entire endeavor, and yet we go for humanity. We go to the moon and onto Mars to seek knowledge and understanding and to share it with all. We go knowing our efforts will create opportunities that cannot be foreseen. We go because we are destined to explore and see it with our own eyes. We turn towards the moon now, not as a conclusion, but as preparation, as a checkpoint toward all that lies beyond. Our greatest adventures remain ahead of us. We are going.
We're going.
We are going.
We are going. We're going.